I got a good one today. Pan-fried dumplings are absolutely unreal, and Sheng Jian Bao are kind of like the quintessential little packages of deliciousness. They're soft and fluffy from the yeasted dough, but really juicy from the fragrant pork filling. I've got a secret ingredient that keeps these super juicy without pushing them into the territory of like a soup dumpling or so. You don't want all the juice running everywhere like a xiaolong bao, but you get tons of juicy deliciousness when you bite through that fluffy outer exterior. It can feel pretty intimidating to work on something like a stuffed dough. However, it's really a homemade thing, so don't worry too much about like the perfection, getting the right amount of pleats. I wanna show you a really easy way to roll these so they don't unfold in the pan and they keep all of that delicious porky juice inside. All of this leads to an incredibly juicy, crunchy, fluffy, and satisfying bao. You're gonna wanna set aside time to make these.
We need to start by making the fluffy yeasted dough for the exterior of the bao. This goes first so we can let it rise while we make our filling. In a large bowl, mix together 250 grams of all-purpose flour and 50 grams of cornstarch. The starch will keep this dough from becoming tough and chewy. Add 4 grams of white sugar to the dry along with 5 grams of active dry yeast. Again, we're aiming for light and fluffy, so the sugar helps enrich the dough and the yeast is going to give it that rise we need. For our wet, we need 75 grams of half and half along with 75 grams of water. Heat that in the microwave until warmed just above body temperature, so probably like 25 seconds. Also, if you spill a little water, wipe it up with a towel. Shout out, love you towel. Mix the wet into the dry until it's crumbly and then switch to your hands to begin kneading. This is a pretty dry dough, so it's going to take some time to knead together. When you begin kneading, it almost feels like it's not going to come together, but trust the process. It's going to take shape soon enough, and once you can't see any more flour and it kind of holds itself into a ball, cover it with plastic wrap and let it rest for an hour. This time allows the flour to become fully hydrated and the dough to double in size. On to the pork filling. As I mentioned earlier, this needs to be juicy, succulent, and full of flavor. To 10 ounces of ground pork, add in a large handful of sliced scallion. Just the green parts here is good. For our seasoning, mix together 1 tablespoon of regular soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of dark mushroom soy sauce. This stuff is really tasty, like an extra umami seasoned soy. Mushrooms are a common pairing for this filling anyway, so it makes a lot of sense. Add in 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame oil along with 1 tablespoon of garlic paste and 1 teaspoon of ginger paste. You could easily grate in fresh garlic and ginger, but this is much more convenient and I've got it around. I'll also add 5 tablespoons of water to this. It may sound like a lot, but the pork is going to soak it up along with the help of our secret ingredient, powdered unflavored gelatin. I figured if soup dumplings can get their soupiness from little cubes of gelatinized pork stock, why not use a little unflavored gelatin to bring that same unctuous juiciness here? Season this generously with salt and pepper, then pour our liquid mix in. To that, sprinkle on a small showering of the powdered gelatin. No need to use the whole pouch here, we're not looking for pork jello. Give that a good mix until fully combined, then cover and store in the fridge while the dough finishes its rise. I did add an extra ingredient though, my camera. The lens brings a nice secret taste you can't get any other way. The hour mark has passed and the dough has doubled in size. Punch out any air and knead the dough until just smooth. We are ready to begin the rolling and filling process. For this, you'll need a rolling pin, the filling, a place to set the filled bao. This recipe makes pretty much exactly 24 bao, so split the dough in half and then in half again. Each quarter is going to be cut into 6 equal pieces. This is roughly 19 to 20 grams if you're a weighing person. While you work on one, be sure to keep the other balls of dough covered so they don't dry out. Roll out one of your balls on a dry surface with no flour. That would make it harder to seal them later. You want the outer parts of the dough to be slightly thinner than the inner section, but it's not going to make a huge difference if that doesn't happen. Once it's rolled out, place a little bit less than 1 tablespoon of filling in each one. Okay, so for rolling and pleating, I like to think of gravity as a major helper here, almost like a third hand. I see people do this with the bao in the air. I'm pretty jealous of that because you have to be good at it. I'm not quite there yet. Keeping it on the board makes it really simple. Pull one edge in and then pinch it to form your first pleat. Keep holding that pinch with your left thumb and pointer finger. Feed more dough into the pinch by grabbing and folding with your right hand. Turn the bao as you do this and keep the filling pocket on the board. I always have a little trouble with the final pleats, so let me know if you've got any tips for this. I simply twist it, close, and fold the top down on itself. It's not perfect, but it's homemade and you can do it too. I'll show you that again with a couple different angles. Pinch with your left hand and fold in with your right. When I first started, it took me a few tries to get it right, but you're going to get better at it as you go. Continue working through these until you're done with the first 12. 12 fit almost perfectly in a cast iron pan, and these are best eaten hot, so I recommend stopping at the halfway point to cook them. You can cook and eat them and then decide if you want to cook the other half or if you want to freeze them. You can let them proof for around 10 minutes and then toss them in the freezer on a tray. Let them freeze and then store them in a plastic bag until you need some bao. I'm going to roll and fill all of mine and cook all of them now just so you can see more of it. And also because I want to eat them. To cook these, heat a cast iron pan over medium-high heat and then add enough oil to coat the bottom. Place your proofed bao in the pan and they should fit perfectly while barely touching each other. Our first stage here is just getting delicious brown color on the bottom of these. Be delicate when checking them, don't pinch them with tongs or anything, use a spatula or like a spoon to pick them up. You don't want them breaking and spilling out the juice into the hot oil. Once nice and brown, add enough water to come up just below the halfway mark on the bao. Cover the pan and lower the heat to medium-low. If the heat's too aggressive, the water is going to move around too much and the bao are more likely to tear. This water is going to steam and both cook the filling and the dough. Set a timer for 8 minutes and just let them cook. Once that timer's up, remove the lid and turn the heat up to a medium to cook off any excess water. Top these with toasted sesame seeds and sliced green onion while they finish cooking in the pan. They're done when the water's gone and the bottoms are crisp again. Eat these while they're hot for extra juicy goodness, but they're still insane even when they aren't squirting everywhere. Speaking of that, be careful when digging into these. If you think a hot pocket burn is bad, imagine steaming hot pork fat hitting you in the eye. Feels bad. Serve these with chili oil or a combination of black vinegar, soy, and sesame. No matter how you top them, they are absolutely insane. Crispy on the bottom, soft and fluffy on top. The salt may seem unnecessary in the filling, but it helps bring out all the flavor in the soy and sesame. I'll say it again, but Sheng Jian Bao are the perfect little package of deliciousness. I want to teach you guys that stuff like this that seems really difficult can easily be made at home if you take a couple minutes to just learn how to do it. I really hope you guys enjoy this video. For equally delicious food, check out my enchilada recipe. Those things go hard in the paint. If you'd like to see more of this type of content, like the video and subscribe. Thank you so much to all the amazing people supporting me on Patreon. Cheers.